As Uganda's future leaders and citizens, students in institutions of learning play a vital role in shaping the democratic landscape of Uganda. However, the current electoral roadmap poses significant challenges to students. Despite their potential to drive change, students often face various barriers in exercising their civic rights. They face barriers such as limited civic space, education, and sensitization. So today we are going to explore the complexities of this issue while we are discussing ways in which we can empower students to stand up and participate in electoral reforms and the electoral process. So today with me, I have a panel of distinguished guests that are going to be well elaborate in this discussion and going to share with us their perspective. Today with you, my name is Sharon Mukisa, the host of your favorite show, which is the Inter-University Debate Show. So in no particular order and in no hierarchy, I'll start with the guest next to me, who is Herbert Tumusiime from Mbarara University of Science and Technology. He is a debater and a musician. We are so happy to have you here, Herbert.
Thank you very much, Sharon, for hosting me. I'm so proud to be here too.
We are so happy to have you, and we hope that you can come back again.
Absolutely, greatness.
And be a part of this show. So next we have Yesigyemukama Rebecca, who has studied journalism and communication at Makerere University, and she is awaiting graduation. She usually engages in climate change activism and in order to fight climate change injustice. So it is a pleasure to have you, and we cannot wait to hear your perspective today.
Thank you for having me, Sharon, and I'm looking forward to coming back.
That's amazing. We look forward to having you again. Next, we have Tamale Nkoyooyo, a student from Uganda Christian University, who is the president of the Launchpad debate at UCU. We are happy to have you.
Thank you very much, Sharon. I'm also happy to be here.
And lastly, but not least, of course, we have Victor Enoch Masiga, a common name that you have seen, and he is a student guild leader at UCU. He's also the legal advisor of Uganda University Debate President's Council. It is such a pleasure to be in your presence today, Victor.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. I have told people along the way that I am the first in my family to be here.
Certainly you will not be the last then. We hope to welcome more from your family. Thank you so much for joining us today. So diving into the debate, diving into the topic that we have today, the Electoral Commission roadmap does not favor young voters, and because of that they are being left out, and yet they can actually shape the democratic society or the landscape of Uganda. So diving into the very first question with Victor, what do you think are the challenges that these young voters are facing today in Uganda?
Okay, so when we go to challenges that these young voters, first of all, are facing, these young voters, majority of them are in school, yes? This is not something that is only happening this time. This is something that has even happened in the previous election. These young voters who are left out. You see, in Uganda, the youth take majority of the population, yes? But yet, they take the list of the voter turn-up, they take the list of the registered voters, right? Now, let me try to bring context. You get to understand that from 18 years and above, you are eligible to vote, and you have a sovereign right enshrined in the Constitution, pursuant to Article 59, Clause 1, right? So, everyone who is 18 years and above ought to vote. And pursuant to Article 59, Clause 3 of the Constitution, the Electoral Commission ought to make sure that you are able to exercise that sovereign right that you have. Now, we look at people who are 18 years and above, but they do not have national IDs. We look at people who are 18 years and above, and why they don't have national IDs, not even because of the fact that they are probably redundant or anything of the sort, but it's because of the fact that the system is long to, be able to get all that and everything of the sort. Yes? So at the time we had 21 elections, I was about 19 or 20 years old, right? But I still wasn't able to vote. Why? Because of the fact that I did not have a national ID, an ID I had been chasing right from the time I was 18 years of age. Yet there are people who got that ID when they were 17 years of age. So it becomes then a problem. Then secondly, we also realize that the school timetable clashes with the electoral program, right?
Yeah.
We're getting to understand that between 11th of January, or sorry, 20th of January or 12th of January, based on the program, because the program keeps extending, yes. But initially the program was released as early as 2023. It had 12th of January to 10th of February, right? So between that time, that is the time that people, okay, of course, because of course during election time, we have that kind of holiday. So we of course do not, of course students are around, but students are only around during the time of election of like the major elections, MPs and presidents. But when we look at these youth elections that these students would actually be able to take part in, they are at school, yes? And that then becomes a problem. Majority of these people are 18, 19 years of age. Senior six vaccies who are head boys, head prefects, head girls in their respective schools, and they can thus contribute effectively. So that becomes a very big challenge.
Okay, thank you so much. Do you think there is any way that the Electoral Commission can step in regards to the process of getting IDs? Because this is handled by NIRA mainly. So the process is unduly long, people give up, people actually don't think that it's important to have a national ID if they are going to access various organizations or companies if they have a school ID. That's what students usually think. So do you think there is a possibility of the Electoral Commission stepping in, ensuring that university students or students generally are able to get their IDs at a faster rate?
Well, like you've said, that's a problem of NIRA. And of course, even the Electoral Commission, if you're to bring them into the picture, they'll say that's a problem of NIRA, right? But even when we take them at best case scenario and say, okay, the problem is with NIRA, still the problem of the clashing timetables or the problem of these people being in school also then becomes a problem. Now, I had a very perfect solution for that. We would embrace things like on-campus voting, yes? And that is something that has been suggested, but as a deaf ear has been paid to it, right? So that's now the problem. So if we had that kind of on-campus voting, it would then become, you know, it would like ease things. Now like these youth elections, people are at school. Of course, you can't stop or have a holiday the same way you would have had a holiday in the January period, right? Because of course now we shall now stall on activities, educational activities. So we then need that kind of campus voting. We then need, even when it comes to like approving or looking at this, the register, trying to check if your name is actually there in the register, we'd need those things. We'd have to get these people who are involved, right? Most of these people are between senior 4 to senior 6. So when you have those people on campus involved, even if you say that, okay, they didn't get IDs, and you say, look, let's work with those who have the IDs. Those who have the IDs either way are not taking part in this. Why? Because they're at school. We have had these previous youth elections, just these previous weeks, yes? But the people who are at school are not taking part, yes? But it is their right. It's their sovereign right. Electoral Commission, the Constitution mandates it to then be able to exercise, to ensure that that happens. And how do they ensure? These are solutions that they should be able to engage us on, right? Now, you have to understand that still even under the Electoral Commission Act, Article 26, Article 61 mandates you to be able to fight for your right. How? Petitioning the Electoral Commission to actually make sure that you're able to vote. Yes, that you're able to vote or take part or participate. And participation doesn't just even mean voting. So when you don't have an ID, you ought to participate. You have parents who are going to vote. How do you hold your parents accountable? How do you ask your parents who they want to vote and why they want to vote that person? Those are things that should actually be addressed.
Thank you so much. You pose what I want to call a Gen Z solution on campus voting. I think the world is going AI, the world is going technology. Those are things that we should be able to adopt to. And it is really disheartening that we have not yet gotten there as a country. So moving on to Tamale. Victor seems to suggest that there should be on-campus voting, but then in scenarios where there is registration, people are required, or rather students are required to go back to where they registered from to get the process going. So you find someone who is studying at UCU and they have to travel back to Mbarara. They feel like, no, I'd rather not vote. Let me just pass. So what do you think could be a solution to that?
Thank you very much, Sharon, for the question. I think 2 to 3 months back, after us were coming in, the UED cell, and their motto slogan is light from Yaka. A friend of mine posted on his status, and it keeps ringing in my head every time, that the people will pay to think for this country, do the list of that. You see, here in Uganda, we treat elections like a surprise, a birthday surprise, a baby shower, something of that kind. But the Electoral Commission has 4 years from the time they organize an election to the time we have another one. But then the panic under which they operate, you can never tell that they're operating within, they have had all that space of period to plan. You see, Victor notes of a very important thing and pertinent to this discussion. The EC had all this time to plan. The students have been in a holiday just a month ago. And none of our Honorable EC Commission had a thought that to have a smooth flow of youth elections, we need to push this closer in holidays to have the students get engaged. When you check our statistics, the number of the population that Victor notes about that between 18 and 30 is 22.7, and 22.7 amounts to 10 million people. Our register, going by what we had in 2021 elections, has 18 registered voters. And of the 18 registered voters, only 10 were able to come and participate in elections. Last time, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission was complaining that we print these things, but people don't turn up. The voter turn-up is very low. In 2021, the voter turn-up was at 57%, if I'm to be right. Just at that. But then these are some of the things that cause the voter turn-up to dwindle every time we go into an election. Away from the security and that's so the actions, the things that they always do during and towards the elections. Now, talking about students' participation, and I want us to broaden this discussion beyond the students to the youth. Because if you're talking about the range of 18 and 30, those are the youth and those are the students. Because I think people between 18 and 30, some of them at institutions of technical institutions, universities, and high schools, and they're all capable voters. But then, how able have you been able to involve them into the processes? Because these are the greatest decision makers, and they form the greatest percentage. Like I've noted, 10 million youths of those, and they are now part of the register. They are registered. So, as we plan, we must pay so much attention to how best they get involved, because our democracy, last week we attended the youth symposium, and one of it was about political participation, and we are reflecting on the 20 years of multi-party political dispensation. And these are some of the things that we have to talk about, that if you are to leverage on the multi-party dispensation under which now we are in, we cannot leave out the youth. But then, if you treat them as an option, the youth can no longer be treated as an option. They are the alternative, the best alternative for this country, because they form the greatest percentage. But then you cannot organize an election where you just see them as an option, or we need youth elections, so you bring them. Just last Thursday, many of them were not able to go and line up and vote for people who are from whom they're going to have the chairperson of the National Youth Council, from whom they're going to have the National Youth MP, female, and for their regions, because they were in classes and every one of us was quiet. And for what instance is the representation going to be if I've not had an input of how people are going to become? How am I going to assess their manifestos? This entire campaign period is these students are going to be at school. Now, that could not be an issue, and we cannot pause the academic schedule for the students to come and engage and assess the manifestos of several candidates. But we are saying the EC has a role to play, and also the state has a role to play. You must open space for civil society organizations to assist, going to institutions of higher learning, going to schools, and have civic education carried out. Open up that space. EC go and organize barazas at Makerere University. Come to Uganda Christian University. We are welcoming you, Chairperson Biabakama, and talk to the students, because these are your voters. The greatest percentage of them is coming from the 10 million registered voters that form part of the 18 to 30 voters. Therefore, as I conclude that, we have seen that even some of the platforms that were put in place to have the youth participate, the state is trying to swallow them up. Yes, we had the Uganda Young Democrats. The Uganda Young Democrats was a youth platform that brought the youth in political participation and democratic causes at Makerere University, and now it's spread to other several universities. Now, you can no longer see the UYD that we had, the UYD that produced the likes of Rose Namayanjas, the UYD that produced the likes of Sechitoleko, of Babnanika, the UYD that produced the Mwanga Chivumbi. If you had those people, the former members of UYD submit today, you credit them. But today, their space is being suffocated. A student cannot stand now at Makerere and some of this political party. A student at Uganda Christian University cannot say that I'm a member of this political party. And we cannot be talking about a political party dispensation when the places where they are supposed to have a place to grow, they are being suffocated and not permitted to grow. So we are calling upon the Electoral Commission that go outside your offices, go to these people. These are your clients. We're your clients. Come and talk to us and carry out civic education, and also give space to the civil society organizations to engage with the young, the youth who are at school and institutions of learning.
Thank you, Tamale. You note that the state has a role to play, so does the EC. They all have a role to play in ensuring that students live up to their civic rights. So coming to Rebecca, I would like to have you elaborate on what do you think is the role of the educational institutions? What do you think their role is in ensuring that students participate in voting?
Thank you so much for that question. Just to go a little bit in detail, this topic is so dear to me because I'm currently a finalist at Makerere University. And as we were finalizing with our studies, handing in this and that, we had a friend, I have a friend, she wanted to participate in the elections. She wanted to become a leader. She wanted to become a youth representative. But she could not because of the school tight schedule. And like you talked about it, she had to go back to her home district, Rushere. She is in Kampala. She has to go back to Rushere to line up and do what she is supposed to do to get the votes and to get the people a line up for her. So she was not able to because we had to meet deadlines, we had to meet school schedules, and she could not move. And the next morning I see her, I'm like, you were supposed to be away into your political journey. She's like, I couldn't, because if I leave, what will happen to my degree? All the 4 years will go to waste. So that is dear to me in that the rights of students is not only voting. Our rights as well is to also become the leaders and be voted into power. Yes. So I feel that the system has pressed us to choose either or, and it's not supposed to be either or, it's supposed to be everything. I'm supposed to have the school, I'm supposed to have the elections, I'm supposed to state my future, I am supposed to study as well. So I feel as a country we've suffered so much with superiority complex. They will tell us they are for us, yet they are against us. So as that, they will tell us, yes, as youth, you make up numbers, you have to be part of the system, which initially we are not. We are being suffocated. Let us look at, my friends have talked about it, the timetables, the requirements needed for voting, all that is put, I feel it has been put in a way of suffocating us as the youth. However much they say we are not needed, but we are the greatest number of people in the country. And so who will they lead, who will they rule if it is not about us? And I feel that most of the youth have gotten to a point of just giving up. What will it matter anyway? I have people you talk to and you ask them, are you going to vote? And they will tell you, what is it for anyway? Because my vote is going to be invalidated, which it has already been invalidated. Talk about people going back as far as Kasese, Chisoro, to just cast their vote, to just have a tick on a ballot. A lot is going to be detailed. They're going to have transport costs. They're going to have a lot of unnecessary costs that are not on their budget. So they will just decide to stay in Kampala and be like, after all, what is it for? Then we have the youth that also go on to represent us. But when it comes to time to represent us, all this is forgotten. They will say, like I say, it's superiority complex. They will say they are for us, yet they are not. When it's time to chill with the big boys, they will do it most. But when it's time to do, when it's time to do what they're supposed to do, we are throwing in the dustbins. So as the other speakers said, we need the EC on board. We have ways we can have people even vote in their schools. I feel if they wanted to, they would. If they wanted to have people not necessarily go back to their home countries to vote, they would. I mean, we have systems. It's high time we embraced digital ways and AI, like you said, technology. I feel our elders, as they term us as the Bazukulu, our elders have also deliberately refused to embrace the new digital ways. But I feel with digital ways and all that, we can have ways in which you can have a person who belongs to Kasese vote a member of Kasese as she is still in Kampala or Makerere University as per se. You can have ways, because they use the system to better themselves up. When we talked about, let's talk about the traffic EP, correct me, EPS, right? They had it right away to just, yes, to just put away or favor themselves. So I believe if they use the same agency to also have that technology serve and better the EC or the electoral processes, they could have it. They just do not want to. So I feel there are better ways they can make it easy for the youth to participate in elections. There are better ways to make it easy with embracing digital technology or digital eras, and rather than just, because for the past times you realize they will get off the internet, they will cut off channels of communication when it comes to elections. We can see that poses some sort of insecurities. So other than having or foreshadowing the insecurities on us, the youth, they can use them to, in fact, better the electoral processes. And I know they can, they just don't want to. Yes, I think that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. I mean, all of you pose the same issue, that there is lack of a partnership between the EC and the learning institution, which is greatly needed for us to move forward. And you also mentioned the various technologies that can be introduced, so that if someone is in Kampala, they can actually vote a member of Kasese because they are from there. That is very possible. I know this is a small scale, but in UCU we do have the same, whereby if you are, let's say you are non-resident, and then you have to vote for a non-resident MP. So what will show up on your phone will be only the MP standing for non-residents. You will not have other positions. So I think it is possible. I mean, institutions are doing it. I think it can be done nationwide. I mean, let us advocate for better. So coming to Herbert, I would like to know, they have discussed the various challenges that students face in voter registration, civic rights sensitization, and in the field as well. So I would like to know, how does the lack of voter education impact young voters and young voters' participation?
All right, thank you, Sharon, once again. So firstly, I need to first quote something that at the start of this discussion, someone said, we are the youth, and therefore we have a patent number that we take in this nation. That means when you need to consider things like sustainable growth and development, you need to look at who are the people that are going to be there in generation times to come. That means you need a lot of radical sensitization, not only radical sensitization, but also something that can be tracked, something that can be noticeable to know that the growth is happening, and therefore who is determining it. Well, as a computing student, firstly, there is something I normally understand when you are testing the things in terms of registration. There is a system under the NERA office, something that you people we've discussed about under the NERA. There is a system that guides you. You can be a resident of Gulu. You go to that Gulu office, you register your national ID or your birth certificate, it be like a death certificate. You can notice, they tell you we are going to post it somewhere maybe in the next month when it's going to be issued. You can find it in Kanungu district, that is in the west. So I really wonder at a point in time, when you are capable to make sure you design a portal that is going to be capable to issue these IDs, to issue everything in terms of registration, to post it somewhere. Like Rebecca says, why can't we have those portals? Why can't we have those systems being designed better so that someone can vote from where they are exiting at the end of the day? If at all you want to implement something that can be actually viewed by everyone and something can be taken note. So to get to your answer, to answer your question importantly, there is what we call most of the boycottings, like people register. Because in the last voting, they told us 15 million Ugandans had registered to vote. That is in the year 2021. But only around 5 million were capable, if I can just quote my brain, if it can maybe recall very well, were capable to go and vote at the end of the day to vote for their presidents and their members of parliament. What does this show you? It shows you that there is nothing like the value of the voting that is existing in the public. People get to know that when I go there, when I decide not to go to do work and I go to vote my leader, it literally is not going to help me at the end of the day. So what is so needed in terms of solving that? That is something that has to be existing better in the judicial systems, in the way that they implement the laws, in the way that they train the security organs, in the way they should be actually handling the voting process easier. Some people fear to go to the voting or the polling stations because they know something is going to happen strangely. I'm going to be strangled down, I'm going to be beaten. That's number one. Number two, you look at the idea, what is the value of me going to vote when I realize there is something not happening properly in where I work from? For example, a lot of taxes are happening. I realize I'm going to miss a day at work. My boss is not going to buy that idea that I had gone to carry out some voting. That's number one. Number two, service delivery that exists in the public that we have in places where we live in. You tell me you design a budget. You tell me you issue money. You borrow loans from maybe external countries. But what is existing in nature is that people continue to suffer. That is why people decide, and they are right, by the way. They are very right. Because if you do something that's not actually benefiting you, why would you go for that? You'll be terming yourself as a fool. So I think the government needs to look at something that is so important for the people in the better ways. Political parties have actually molded ideas that exist. People go to support a political party because they feel like when we issue this leader, when we supported this leader, he delivered for us. So why doesn't we have things like, in terms of better training to the leaders that we really need to be existing in public, so that we buy the idea of the value for people's votes. I think that's something better in terms of having the youth taking part of what is so important at the end of the day, before even we look into what happens at the polling stations and what is so better. People need to buy the idea. People need to look at the significant fact of when I go to vote, this is what I get at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Herbert. That is indeed an interesting point of view. And indeed, I hope your viewers, the viewers out there are listening, and we hope that you can comment on what Herbert has said. Moving on to Victor, I would like to pose a question. We have discussed the AI, we have discussed technology advancements that need to be put in place in order for us to impact and ensure that students, young voters out there participate more in the electoral process. So what else do you think can be a strategy to get these people involved in the voting process?
You see, even the Electoral Commission itself is going to tell you that we have also been doing what we call civic education. You know, before coming for this topic, as I was trying to look at where the problem is, I was not even getting results of the problem. I was getting that Electoral Commission is actually doing work. I was seeing civic education taking part in schools, things of that sort, right? But we want that work to have implementation. We want to have results at the end of the day, yes? And that is now where we have to get them from, right? I'm going to reiterate the provisions I mentioned. You know, it's not just, I don't want to just pose it like this is my view, right? I want to bring it and show you that you actually have a legal duty as Electoral Commission, right? I posed already Article 59(1) of the Constitution and told you each of us has a sovereign right to vote, right? And I brought you Article 59(3) and showed you that you have to ensure that you are able to actually be registered and also be able to vote. Even your own Electoral Commission Act that governs your activities, pursuant to Section 12, subsection 1, paragraph A, you are supposed to ensure that all citizens are registered and able to vote, right? But the funny thing is, I was watching just a few days or weeks back, there was a time whereby it was NTV. It was NTV at morning. Is that NTV Morning Breeze something? You know. So they were interviewing the chairperson, not the chairperson. He's actually the spokesperson. Yes.
Oh, the Electoral.
Yes, the spokesperson of the Electoral Commission, Julius Mchongozi. I hope I'm not mistaken with the name.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, and he asserts very well that, you know, we are not going to extend anything, and blames us to be the ones that have this latecomer syndrome, last minute syndrome, to actually want to take part, right? That want to come and do these things last minute. Yes, best case scenario, I'll say, okay, yes, last minute. Maybe we're last minute people, maybe we actually come in very late and, you know, instead of coming in the earlier days, right? But why are you not addressing the people that do not come, not because of last minute, not just because of last minute, but because of the various issues that they have, because of the various bureaucracies, and even you're also not addressing these students that are still in school, right? So that is where exactly our problems are coming, right? And another funny thing I actually got also during that session is where he talked about, because these are sort of things that affect, right? You know, we've been looking at students and, you know, them being confined in school. But we should also show why some of these youths don't participate, even minus the school. The other ones are not in school, but they don't participate. Honorable Nkoyooyo was able to bring to you the issue about the violence and everything of the sort. This gentleman, Julius Mchongozi, avers very well that, you know, there is peace all over the country. Yes? I will quote very well. There is peace all over the country, and talked about, blamed the media, that it is the media that wants to just capture where you know, things just, you know, go a bit wrong, and then that is what they want to put out, and then they leave out the parts that have peace, right? So even when we take that best case scenario and say, okay, the media only takes the worst, right? Why should that worst exist? And I'm happy that even he quoted in that very speech that election is not warfare, right? He quoted that very well. So why do we have members deployed at a by-election? What is then going to happen at an election that determines the future of the country? An election that has the president, you get, that is going to have over 5 presidents contesting. What is going to happen then if a by-election had members? People, like, we've never seen that before. We've always been complaining about tear gas, but right now I think we even forgot what tear gas means. We forgot what tear gas exists. Right now, someone, do you know what it means to be beaten by someone that you have not seen, that you don't know what they look like? You can't even hold them accountable. At least in the times of retired Dr. Mukisa Sharon, we could know who sprayed in him pepper spray in the eyes, right? But right now, you cannot know. So that is literally, those are things that also have to be addressed, right? And you see, the problem is that when the youth come out to say the truth, then we are considered to be an enemy, right? Personally, me, I'm a student guild leader, and sometimes when you bring views that people term to be as radical, people will ask you things like, what color of the drone do you want? Yes? But that is not how really we should live, right? Because then, what is the use of us now going to school? We should now then just go back to the days of Napoleon, whereby art subjects were banned, and only studied in science, it's like you'd be naive and not know, because of course, we are going to be enlightened with political knowledge, right? A solution that we actually brought, how do we then include these people, right? We are here. Civic engagements, civics, debates, forums, right? At least I know Peace Boy Pal, right? At least when he completed that name, I have known of him in debate spaces, right? And such things, when students debate, the reasons as to why most of us here are able to be eloquent and speak to the camera with a lot of information like this is because of the fact we've engaged into such things, right? Incorporate those debates in schools. If you really want to bring things like civic education, this is the period. Right now, universities, high schoolers, they have debates and things of that sort. Bring in those things, right? So I'm going to conclude with a statement. I've been telling you about the truth and you not castigating us for the truth, right? I'll leave you with the truth, with a quote. If the truth becomes a casualty, democracy cannot survive.
Thank you so much.
What kind of a drum?
No, none is coming for you. None is coming for you. No one should scare you. Thank you so much for your view. And it is crucial that we have debates in these learning institutions because they help bring out the best in people, help them to be well-researched, very knowledgeable about all these things that are happening, and also find ways in which they can improve participation and engagement in the voter area. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. We shall now take a break and we shall be back in 5 minutes. You are watching the Inter-University Debate Show.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create and publish digital media or to access and use computers, other electronic devices and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
Welcome back to your favorite show, the Inter-University Debate Show. We left off when Victor was talking to us about debates, how it is important to incorporate debates in the programs in our institutions of learning. So that being noted down, I would like to ask Tamale Nkoyooyo, what do you think are other strategies that can be put in place to increase or to increase students' voter participation in the elections?
Like I stated, that this is a broader discussion. You see, you're talking about students, but then the students are in the same line as the youth. Now, all our appeals are going to the Electoral Commission, and the way it carries out its duties. I noted here, last time the EC said was looking for money, so an addition in April. And when they asked the chairperson of the brutality that occurs, like my friends have noted, during elections, and it's like, for us as EC, we try to do what we can and we proceed. So you see, the EC itself looks to be overpowered with occurrences that happen during and after these elections. And so, students' participation and their involvement, you see now, they're the parents themselves that call their children. And I want to state, Sekulaba Yeyo. Statements of that kind, Sekulaba Yeyo. Because why? The state has made it to look like for the only way someone to be safe is to run under the NRM. Any other person that is outside that, you will see what happens. So it is only safer for those who associate themselves with the government. And I think, in my perspective, the space would be open for everyone to come and openly participate, starting from the university politics. There's no reason to why you have to close up political parties at institutions of higher learning like Makerere, like I've earlier noted. Yes, why would they have good presence running under their political parties at Chambogo, at UCU, and everywhere? Because I think it is Proverbs 22:6. Train up a child in a way that you want him to. In a way that you want him to take, so that even when he grows up, he shall never leave it. So, if we decided in 2005 that we are choosing a multi-party dispensation, then you must train that in us right now. But then, having political parties and students' participation in the same line in these countries becoming so risky and hard to bear. Many of the people that have been brutalized, many of our friends that are at Rosita for 4 years and tried under court martial. Some of them are students. Some of them are youth of our age but never got a chance to go to school. But this discussion also concerns them. This discussion concerns them. So they need the protection. We need to make the environment safer We need to make the environment safer for them to participate and take part in these elections. The involvement that we talk about, the youth, and every candidate that comes around, they're just looking at the involvement, but none of them looks at active participation. But active participation will require us to have a safe place for them to participate in the elections. You see, all our leaders that come around, everyone is like, we are building a better future for the youth. But then, why don't you build us? Why don't you let us build for the best future for ourselves? Nothing about the youth now can no longer be discussed without the youth taking part. Yes, who among the members of the EC represents the youth? Because it will be their position. None of our members of parliament has been able to come up and speak about the brutality against the youth, the students. None of them, not even our national chairperson. If they did, never know some of these things would have been addressed. So we are calling upon all stakeholders that are concerned with this, that for us to grow into the kind of democracy that we chose to take part in, we need to create safer places. And safer places need the state's commitment to agree that, yes, we agree to move from movement system of governance. Now we're into multi-party political dispensation, and we must create a level ground for everyone to participate. But the occurrences that we saw in Kawempe just were a baby shower. The occurrences in Kawempe were
what is coming.
Of what is coming just in December. And we saw the child that is going to be given birth, brutality, and the way cases are adjudicated. Then which parent is going to allow their kid at school, at university, call for transport to go to Kasesa and vote? If that's how the things are happening. If the candidates that any reasonable man takes that one, for any reason, this could not be even in line with this, but for any reason, Nalukola faced the highest brutality of the state. For what reason would such a judgment come up against him? And then tomorrow you want me to leave class to go and vote? So state security operatives need to create safer places for everyone to take part. And for everyone, we say, like I noted, the youth that are under discussion here form 22.7%, and they're 10 million, and the EC register today has 18 million voters. And we are the greatest majority to take part. So none of them is going to risk their future. And this is within your mandate, Chairperson of the Electoral Commission. If you see what is happening, cannot permit a fair and fair election, call the election off. I've had my colleagues here submit that we are now transcending into a digital world, AI, electoral voting. It's even universities where it is happening, it is still questionable. Yes. Now, you want to introduce whatever. Electoral. How do you term it?
On-campus voting.
On-campus voting, but there's no you term it. You termed it like you vote online. Yeah. With this kind of government that we have, there is no interest. There is no political will to have such a thing. If these physical ones that we know we count, that at this study center, this candidate has gotten this number of votes, and we have taken note, 200 votes. And as someone is announcing in Nambole, they say 50. What's going to happen to a system that we cannot have a control in? So also the state will to have such a positive and safe environment for everyone to perform, and also to really have it within their hearts that maybe you're not the only people around that were blessed to take charge of this country, because the discussions that we're having here are because some of the people that are leading us have failed to understand that this space is about them and about us, and any one of us, any of the stakeholders within Uganda can leave one time, but the country is going to stay. So for us to create the future that we want, first we must involve the highest stakeholders, who are the youth and who are the students that are under discussion. And how best are we going to do that? Creating safer places. There is no need to abduct, torture, take people into basements and teach them Luganda. And teach them Runyankore. Maybe there could be amendments now. There could be amendments. But Sevude Kasim, who was abducted in Mukono and tortured, taken to the basement, to this date still suffers the same from the injuries that were caused against him. The likes of Kanata Muhammads from Mukono North, to this time, they have not discovered where they are, and no student is going to take part in such a process. So we are calling upon Electoral Commission, stand your ground, come out and condemn these things that are politically motivated, that are being meted on the students and the youth. They such don't tell good for our future. I need something.
Thank you so much, Tamale. And I think in Nalukola's very first speech, when he had become a member of parliament, then he came out and condemned what was happening, what had happened during his by-election. He came out and condemned the violence, he spoke against it, and he called upon the state to act accordingly. I think that is something that we should note. I mean, there are people out there, some people that are out there and advocating for a better and safer voting environment. It is crucial that you mentioned that we should have a safer environment so that parents can interest their children to come out of learning institutions, because we know, for a matter of fact, learning institutions are safe areas. So for you to tell a parent that someone is coming from a university, let's say like maybe Chambogo, maybe UCU, a safe place, and they're going into an area like Kawempe to vote, yet there are all these violences going on, voter violences and election violence happening, I don't think a parent would be what is the best word to use?
Yes,
they would really be biased, and they would not allow for their students, or rather their children, to participate. Yes, please.
Yes, and also in line with that submission of allowing safer places in universities, I talked about UID and what was happening. Usually, they used to meet at the university hall, like in their history, and they could welcome in, and these were even other political parties were doing that, welcome in someone of their political party, talk to them and teach them into the party ideology. That never caused any kind of demonstrations, riot. You just meet at the university hall, dining hall, discuss, either Mitchell or meet in Nkoyooyo hall at UCU, or meet at in Chambogo, whatever hall that is there. You have the youth peacefully engage themselves, because we need to create a future that is well enlightened with these things. But every time you lock them up, every time you think every opposition personnel is going to be a threat to the government, then we are not building for a future that we indeed look up to in our laws and aspirations as a country.
Thank you so much. As earlier stated, we are here to discuss ways to empower students to participate in the electoral process, or the electoral process for next year. So coming on to Rebecca, having mentioned points such as making the environment safe, having debates instituted in the various organizations, learning institutions, what else do you think can be the strategies that either the EC or the state can take up to ensure that there are more voter students' participation in the electoral process?
Well, thank you once again. But let's go back to the grassroots. All this is going to be said, but is it going to be done? There's so many strategies, so many ideas that have been brought up by these wonderful people. Now, the issue is we are preaching, but is the preaching going to be practiced? Are we going to walk the talk? First of all, I want to know what the youth leaders that are out there doing for us. Because we have youth representatives, we have a whole ministry we are under, the Ministry of Gender and Social Development and Children and Youth Affairs. The people there, do they listen to us? Do they know what actually disturbs the youth? And if they do they take the initiative to really help out the youth? We are going to bring out so many strategies that are supposed to be put across, but are they going to be aligned? Let's come back to the basic humanitarian rules and principles: integrity, objectivity, transparency and consistency. Now, we could bring out all these things, and they're going to show they've had, but they're not going to practice. If they practice, the longest time will be even before the elections come forth. For 1 month, they will go to schools. Okay, we are bringing out debates. We are ensuring teaching these students. Then a lot of money will be splashed there. Then those who get will get. Then after 2 months, or even 1 month, they've forgotten what the cause is. The elections are going to come. Same dilemma that is going to happen. So are we going to walk the talk and practice what we are preaching? If only we could have a little bit of consistency and heed to what we are saying. To the older generation, we are young. And that's a parent-child relationship that will forever stand. You're going to bring an idea, and what will they say? Ochali Mutoyo young, what do you know? We've seen days, we've fought in the war, we were in the bush, we are not there. Exactly. And they are going to invalidate our thoughts. They are going to make it seem like we do not matter, which we do. Because in all honesty, we are not here forever. We are leading the steps of your legacies that you're leaving behind. And I want to ask, is the legacy you're leaving behind what you want your children to follow? Or if your child wants to be like you, or if your child said, Daddy, I want to take up and be like you. I love how you do this. I love how you do this. I love how you conduct this. Would you be happy? Or you'd sit in a room and say, isn't it like an evil eye? So we need to go back to the basic humanitarian roles and I don't know how to phrase that thing. And yes, let us not put fake faces. And before you know it, it is over. Like I said, it is going to benefit. It is what benefits me. That's what Uganda has become, unfortunately. What benefits me? So let it be beyond what benefits me. We've had times where parents have worked for their great-grandchildren. So let us have it back, and we'll be like, what we are setting today should work for the generations to come. And maybe better then, we could have better and better ways in which this can be solved. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Talking about the humanitarian principles, the virtues that a person should have, but at the end of the day, I think it still goes back to who a person is, because we are all different, coming from various backgrounds. Wherever we are from, we cannot have the same vision as everyone else. Sure. I think we lack that, and that is something that could be that I would suggest that would be instituted in maybe the curriculum somehow. Things like ethics, teaching us about ethics. Like someone grows up knowing that it is important to be respectful to others, to not to embezzle money, to work for the greater good when someone has been put in office. Thank you so much, Rebecca. Moving to Herbert, what do you think are the strategies that should be put in place to increase voter participation, and in particular the students?
All right, thank you once again. You know, in this talk, I discover something that is about making politics look like it's a bad idea. It exists in public, that there is a narrative already that exists out there that, you know, when I'm in power, when I'm in leadership, there is something that I'm getting breastfed on and other people are not getting the advantage of that. What does that mean? Maybe in Uganda, I don't know whether even in Africa all along, politics exists to be something that is of high monetary value. I realized in the recent years, I think around 2 years ago, I was discussing with someone. He was a teacher. By then I was still in high school, if there are 2 to 3 years. I was like, which kind of business can you do in Uganda to make sure that it thrives at the end of the day? You get the riches that you maybe need, you get the amount of money. So funny, someone came with an idea, was like, maybe you become like an MP.
So people are looking at it as a sort of career where they're going to get money from.
That notion actually insists the fact that people are there to get money. People are not there for the services. So that means at the end of the day, there is no proper service that is, okay, there is no proper value of the existence of politics themselves. So I think there is something that is too bad that is existing in this system, the so-called system that we are living in. Maybe a lot of high salaries, maybe people are getting a lot of empowerment that exists in terms of the people are getting backed up by the monies that they are earning out of that. And then you realize the people that are going to contest, they have to do it like a do or die. What happens? For the person who is not empowered, for the person who has that capacity, who doesn't have the capacity to make sure that they can overpower you, they can maybe even remove you from the power, that means they do not have the potential to get the better, greater ideas that should be existing. Because in services, in politics and service delivery, we should be having people doing it as a proper kind of way. Make sure that they serve the public, they serve the people that they really need. But if it is existing by the fact that because I'm eyeing a Land Cruiser, because I'm eyeing people, I'm eyeing my children getting proper funding, unlike the people that voted me, that will exist at the end of the day, even if we speak, even if we do the talking and the whatsoever, it's not going to be actually coming back to the ground that we are going to solve those issues. So a lot of policies that need to be implemented. Now, this is a pain that we actually exist to have. The people that we are saying to implement the policies, they are the parliament. The parliament themselves, the people who go there, they do not discuss the proper ideas that we need to be having, because they are the lawmakers and maybe the judiciaries and they are the law enforcers. So what is really to be needed? Back to the other thing of personal reconciliation. Before you chew omusolo sente, that money before you chew it, think about where it comes from. Because you introduce things like indirect taxes. Therefore, you do not get to feel the pinch, to feel it, of what it means to get that money from the muiwomusolo. If you get to chew it at the end of the day, it's not going to even play an important factor in your heart, in your mind, that this money should have maybe built a hospital there. A lot of things exist in this public. You organize a function, you organize a conference. Someone talked about like conferences that we normally hold. Do you realize some people do those things like a gig, like when I call you to come and do something for me here? So someone organizes a conference and is doing it like a gig to earn money out of it. You realize all of that, it's a lot of monetization that is existing. People are no longer doing things for the value of their nations. Should we say that maybe patriotism has maybe failed? When we say patriotism, you know what happens? They train people how to maybe can hold a gun, how to continue, you can maybe do much like the army people. That's not patriotism. What is needed is the civic education that all the members, the gentlemen and the lady here, they are talking about. The civic education should be, what is the value of me existing as a Ugandan? If I'm having a legal right to vote, do I vote for what is so important for me? I think that's what should be proper, and that's the kind of gospel that should be preached outside to everyone, to hold the moral responsibility. Do things out of goodwill that will exist to improve your country, not to benefit you alone, but look at what the future is holding up for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Herbert. I hope we are all inspired to do things out of goodwill. When we get into those offices, we often forget the people that have voted us into the offices, and we are just thinking about what next. What are we putting in our pocket? How much are we getting? Instead of looking at the problems that the society is having and being able to solve them and advocate for better, or for better ways we can improve and better ways we can move forward. Thank you so much, Herbert, for that. So moving on to Victor, I would like, in our few sentences, I would like you to give your concluding remarks to our viewers, emphasizing, your points that we've talked about, the debates and the various strategies that you think that can be put forward in order for us to impact and increase the students' voter participation.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, so first of all, when it comes to like attendance and participation of these voters, we have to also understand that, like my colleagues were able to reiterate, the fact that these universities have very strenuous programs, right? That is why that on-campus voting, much as it may seem impracticable, it then is very imperative, right? I come from a university whereby we learn from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., right? So in an event that of course you're going to be able to earn,
and sometimes to 8 p.m.
Yeah. So in an event that you're going to be able to organize some of these things, how then is somebody going to be able to, like, get out of anything of the sort? Even whereby you have universities that are a bit, maybe the program is a bit less strenuous and they maybe stop at midday. In an event that they have tests and coursework or they have examinations, when then do I get that time? So you have to cut up for them. That is why I was talking about things like petitioning, a right that you actually have, right? Whereby you can petition them and tell them that we actually did not exercise our right, and therefore we ought to exercise their right. That's right? You see, this roadmap that we're talking about, it all emanates from the Electoral Commission Strategic Plan. That was 2023-2027, right? And it was launched by the Prime Minister. Now, this plan has something very interesting. It highlights something that goes inclusive citizen participation, including youth, as a pillar, right? Exercise that. That is what exactly we want to see. That is exactly why we are here talking about this. We're not just here to show loopholes in the Electoral Commission or the government, but we just want to hold you accountable to what then you do. So literally we can have things like joint statements being released, right? You're talking about youth leaders, what then do they do? And the problem that we have is these youth leaders also will tell you, now me, what can I do in my capacity, right? And we actually understand that you can't do that. I want to give you an analogy of an honorable I admire so much. The place where I reside from, I'm a resident of Chira municipality. My honorable is Honorable Semunjonganda, right? The time that he was coming, of course, people were like, you have been here for 20 years, Chira has bad roads. He did not promise them that, okay, I'll do better this time. He educated them on the roles of an MP. Mine is not to build for you roads. And he told them what exactly he's supposed to do as a legislator. And what is he doing in parliament? He's doing just exactly that. He's a shadow minister for finance, and he exposes loopholes in the budget. He shows you where then money is supposed to have been diverted to, right? Now, such things then is what exactly we need. If you're a youth leader and you feel like, oh, I cannot do this because of the fact that probably I'm limited or I don't have the capacity, do something in your capacity. At least talk. Because she mentioned the fact of, we've always talked, and yeah, we shall talk, but implementation becomes the problem. Let us talk. They will know that we talked. That's literally what exactly I want us to, have on board. And talking about building a better future for the youth, okay, well, that's really a wonderful concept because, the roadmap includes elections for, they call them SIGs. Those are the special interest groups. We youth are part of them, right? So why then are we excluded, right? Then that should be scoped of the roadmap, if at all we're not part of it. Yes? That's literally my view. Now, a solution I would have probably brought, which would have been maybe something, it's an electoral reform, but I didn't want to bring it because of the practicability and then the time that the bureaucracy that is going to be involved in it. That is what we would call direct universal suffrage over, where we're having maybe, let me say, because I think we have electoral colleges when it comes to things of the youth and things of the sort. So we'd want to be directly involved, choosing the leaders actually ourselves or something of that sort. Yes, not really the youth. There's youth councillors, but then when it comes to the youth MPs, there is sort of electoral colleges there involved. But now we want to have a direct, that kind of direct suffrage, which has actually worked in some of the countries, some of our neighboring countries. Yes, so literally, one thing I have emphasized is that let us talk. Yes, they will know that we talked. Because if the truth becomes a casualty, democracy cannot survive.
Thank you so much, Victor. And indeed, as youths, we do have a voice. So let us talk indeed. They will know that we talked. Thank you so much. And encouraging everyone to do what they can in their capacity, be it community, because as a community you also have a role. As an individual, you also have a role to perform. So doing what we can in our capacity can also impact and better the situation for us. Thank you so much, Victor, for that. Moving on to Tamale. What would be your concluding remarks, elaborating on obviously what you have emphasized and speaking to our viewers about how they can increase student voter participation?
I get so bothered so much these days when we say the youth are clustered under special interest group. I have stated here over time that we form the biggest percentage. From 78 as a Gen 1, from 12 to 30, then to 22.7, forming 10 million of the voters that we are going to have. Those are between 18 to 30. I also, in my perspective, no longer see the role to why we should now even be having youth MPs. We are no longer a special interest group. For any reason, the 500 and something members of parliament are supposed to be the youth because we're the future of this country. It's us who can debate AI because they don't know and they cannot tell anything.
Exactly.
They can no longer discuss anything that takes this future, this country, beyond 10 years. MPs of 80 years, 87, 70, they cannot discuss anything that takes that is going to be good for us. So, my brother, Masiga, the youth, maybe in the perspective that in the legal books that we're a special interest group, we're no longer qualifying for that because we form the greatest majority. And so, the reason also, the notion of having youth MPs is no longer holding water. First, we no longer hear their voice anywhere. So that representation dies from that very time. No time have we had our youth MPs make a mention. So we should go on a leveled ground that where we are the majority and we are the future. This must be done and demand, not being hoodwinked with those handouts of you have now a youth MP and then you proceed. Now, away from that, everyone around has carried a role of building the future for the youth. We are building the future for the youth. We are building the future for the youth. And none of them is planning of building the youth for the future. Mine is a clarion call to all the students. The elders that you're looking up to abdicated from their role of creating a better country, of creating a better future for us. We must take charge. And in taking charge, even if you don't directly involve yourselves, if you don't contest, be very inquisitive on the candidates that are going to come. Ask them questions, hold them accountable. Every time, next year, I stated the other time that next, if you don't take great keen attention to the candidates that you're going to vote for, because the roadmap is not favoring us, we shall be the very people going for march to parliament because they're going to be corrupt. Don't fall for handouts. Vote leaders based on merit. Based on merit, because the loans that we are taking as a country, us, the future generations, are the ones to pay. Some of these people are going to die tomorrow. They're 80 years, 90 years, they're going to die. They're not going to be here to pay these loans. So the moment you still keep them into power, and also the corrupt officials, that means us, we are going to carry the burden without any benefit. So hold them accountable, be very keen, don't fall for handouts. Some now know they're going to buy for you reflector jackets, soap, sugar. Don't fall for those. In case, if there is an opportunity, eat them and don't vote for them. Those things are happening so much in northern Uganda and eastern region. They are now coming with 10,000 shillings to give you knickers, those things for the girls, pads. Don't fall for those things. Vote based on merit. If you vote based on merit, you'll be in position to hold those leaders accountable. But if you fall for their handouts, you will not be in position to hold them accountable, because they will tell you, we already paid you. Did you receive a nika? Yes, I received a nika. Now go back home. Did you receive a 10K? I received. Now go back home. Those are things that happened in the youth elections just last week. They are giving youth 10,000. But you're voting for leaders who are going to advocate for your rights, for jobs, wage, things of that kind. So please take in attention and hold them accountable. Don't fall for handouts. I will submit.
Thank you so much, Tamale. I don't think anyone is going to fall for a handout after that. Thank you so much. Rebecca, your concluding remarks to our viewers.
Well, this conversation has reminded me of the poem we used to do in high school, Building the Nation.
Oh, yes.
The ones that are supposed to build are feeding off our energy on the ones that are actually building. To the youth leaders that are out there, this rant is to you, because you are supposed to raise these voices to the people that are supposed to actually change. We walked so that you could run, but you're seated with us. I'm bothered. I don't think I've not even seen any debate, a youth leader like he talked of, a youth leader, a youth MP, trying to air out his views to any of the people that are in charge. Youth leaders, please do what you're supposed to do. Yes, you promised us heaven on earth, which we are still waiting. Maybe there is a little hope. But 2020, one thing, I got an opportunity to, anyway, one thing I've learned is if a person is representing a region, let's say Eastern region, she is going to make it through, and she will leave the Eastern region and come to reside in Kampala. And she will ignore her people and then go back when it's time for another election to convince them with the knickers and pads. And of course, we can't blame these people that are receiving the knickers and pads, because what more do they know? But you people actually know better, the ones that are actually handing in. So I feel you wouldn't have needed to even give in the knickers and pads. If you played your role throughout this entire time you've been leading, you didn't need to go back and bribe them with the knickers and the pads and the 10,000. Like, is that they are worth 10,000 Ugandan shillings? You didn't need to if you played your role during that entire time. You're only bribing them because you know what they put you to do in power is not what you've done, and you're only convincing them to take you back so that you can scoop more from their energy. So I go back to the humanitarian basics. I believe a person that fears the Lord, there are certain things they cannot do. No, yes. Seriously. A person that fears the Lord, there are certain things you cannot do because you are accountable to the one Most High. So at the end of the day, I call you to fear the Lord, please, because save us. Yes, save us and save yourselves as well. Because if you're fearing the Lord, you do what you're supposed to do and account what you're supposed to account to. I think I beg to submit.
Thank you so much. It is important for us to fear the Lord, because with the Lord comes so many fruits of the Holy Spirit and all of that, and virtues, of course, that can help us live in a better society. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for those concluding remarks. Moving on to Herbert, please give your concluding remarks to our viewers.
All right, you people, I'm actually so happy. These things are happening and people know them. We are discussing them. I do not think we are just only 6 or maybe 10 people that know these things in the country happening. So that means the public there needs to buy these ideas. So my message goes to voters. It's going to tackle a lot on the literacy and maybe the illiteracy levels that exist. It can happen, some of us, or maybe you have your mother or you have your father who never maybe studied or went to class. That means the only thing they know about voting is that I come, the person that came to me and asked for a vote and probably gave me something is that person that I'm going to. So it goes back. This electoral roadmap that we have been talking about, it capacitates these voters, the students actually, most the people in the institutions of learning. It capacitates us to be available only on the voting days. And which voting days are those? For the MPs and for the presidential candidates. What does it mean? To the village level, you can happen to be in a class time, but you do not have the capacity to go and vote. What does it mean at the end of the day? Part of the electoral process, it happens twice. There is voting and there is campaigning time. In campaigning time, we are limited to get the ideas because these things happen. All those manifestos, all those promises that the leaders are going to be bringing up, you won't have the idea of whatever they have actually promised the people in the village, promised the people in the ghetto that you come from, promised the people that are at the workplaces that are working. So it is so important that as a student, for you can listen to some part of English, for you can integrate all that is needed, you can actually interpret it to your fellows, you can actually even interpret it to the fellow villagers. Bring in those ideas, tell them the open truth. This is what is so important. Track the problems, do the breakdown of what is itching you as a society. Get to know, what do I really need for me to elevate my kind of life, for me to get the value, for me to even feel the love of my country at the end of the day. Not to be pinched by all the policies that are actually in nature that are existing in the systems of the government. So it is so important that before you even encourage your fellows to go to vote, educate the people that are not capable to get these ideas. Give them what is so important, because they need this information. They need all these knowledgeable information that is so important before they exit to go to the voting. At the end of the day, it is everybody's right. It is so bad when you are capable, leave alone the other fact that you might be studying from Tumusiime University and maybe you come from Rakai district. That means you're not capable to invest in that transport, go and vote. But in case you are really capable, do not register and fail to go to vote, because it's your vote that counts, and it is the weapon or it is the capacity of your vote that gives that leader who's going to eat your money to go to vote when you fail to go and do the voting against them. It is so important. Let's go vote if you're capable, and let's really educate what is so important to the other fellows, to the other public that is so needed. Thank you very much. I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, Herbert. Our discussion today has been centered around ways we can empower students to participate more in the election process. We have discussed things such as advocating for our rights and petitioning to the Electoral Commission, and also Tamale really emphasized that do not fall for handouts. So I hope if you're watching this, you're not going to fall for any handouts. You're going to vote based on merit. Also, educating ourselves and sensitizing ourselves about our civic rights. It is important when you know something, inform someone else. Sometimes it is you and your story that will inspire someone else to go out there and vote. So thank you so much. I have been your host, and thank you for watching the show till the very end. This is the Inter-University Debate. Till next time.